For a lot of people, Fallout 4 DLC was a bit disappointing. It's actually pretty interesting. If you take a look back to January, on different forums and particularly Reddit, this was right around the time when the DLC schedule was announced, and some people were critiquing it saying there's only 2 major DLCs on the schedule. This is actually pretty concerning. This was met by mass downvotes and just people hating on them overall, saying they're ungrateful and to have faith in Bethesda. Little did anyone know that at the time, those people were right. There was a massive attitude change when Bethesda announced that Nuka World would be the final DLC. Instead of being downvoted into oblivion, some of the highest voted posts on Fallout subreddits are about the disappointment that is DLC. And now finally having all of the DLCs released, it kind of seems like Bethesda went for a little bit of a cop-out. Do we remember when they raised the season pass price? It went from $30 to $50. They said this is because they're going to be including more content, etc, etc. Yet we got a Fallout 4 DLC lineup that felt like the most lackluster out of all of the modern Fallout games. So what the hell happened? Did they just get money hungry or what? Well, without a doubt, the different contraptions DLCs are much easier to make. There was basically mods already for all these different DLCs to begin with. You had Homemaker for the Wasteland Workshop, DD Productions and all of his mods pretty much encompassed whatever contraptions added in. There was literally already a build your own vault mod, which obviously replaced Vault-Tec, and those were the 3 DLCs that were supposed to make us pay more. Then of course we got Far Harbor and Nuka World. Far Harbor is reigned as probably still the best DLC, Nuka World being pretty good but didn't live up to the precedent set by Far Harbor. Even Automatron, which still stays is my favorite DLC, almost could have been replaced by Robot Home Defense. The mod author was planning a lot of updates but stopped because of the release of Automatron. Another thing a lot of people reference back to is the idea that Fallout 4 was supposed to be optional in regards to settlements. Bethesda said this at numerous interviews before the game's release, and yet as the DLC comes out, it seems like they're not as optional as you really thought. If you want to get the most out of your season pass, you're gonna have to play all these different DLCs. Personally, I feel pretty ripped off, and I paid for the cheaper season pass. I found the whole settlement system to be extremely disappointing, and I was actually extremely hyped for that. If you look back to my older videos, I said I think I'm gonna just forget about the quests and just build up settlements. That's what I love doing in older Fallout games with mods like RTS. Yet actually playing it, it was just really redundant, and I felt like there was no reward. So that aside, a full video would have to be made evaluating all the DLCs after I play through each and every one, but for the time being, what could have Bethesda done or added to make the DLCs a little bit better? The obvious answer is a better story and more quests. The Fallout 4 story in general was pretty basic. Not a lot of people really found it as immersive or kind of just didn't pull you in as much as some of the past Fallout games. On top of that, a lot of people don't think it's a very good RPG, especially when you compare it to something like Skyrim or Fallout New Vegas. That would have made a lot of people really happy, but something I like from DLC is a lasting effect. Although the Anchorage DLC for Fallout 3 was really memorable and a good experience, after you finished it, I felt like, okay, now what? I like when DLC makes an impact on the game itself, and it's not just a totally separate location for you to go experience for a little bit and then come back to like the real world and continue your normal playthrough. I want the DLC to affect my normal playthrough and change some things about it. In regards to Fallout 4, this could have been so easily done adding in some of the new weapons or the new power armors or really new anything into the regular Commonwealth, not just the DLC areas. This was done to a minor degree with things like the Rust Devils raiding your settlements, and of course you can make automatrons at your settlement with the workshop, but that was only one DLC. I feel like Far Harbor and especially Nuka World don't add things to the Commonwealth. If you go there and experience them, it's a great experience. You could check out all the new guns and armors and all that, but then when you leave, it's like, well, that was kind of it. I also just don't understand, with the release of console mods and really just the PC modding scene in general, why did Bethesda, whoever was making the DLC, not look at what were the most downloaded mods and try and add stuff like that to their DLC? The handmade rifle is a great addition, but in 5 DLCs, I feel like we got 1, maybe 2 memorable rifles. The only 2 that come to mind are the handmade rifle and the lever action rifle. Both of those are pretty practical weapons that I will find myself using very often. On the flip side, there are tons of mods I would rather use than either of those weapons, and I feel like Bethesda just really didn't hit the nail on the head here. Adding in more weapons and really just building off people's complaints. A lot of people felt like there wasn't enough assault rifles. A lot of people felt like there wasn't enough sniper rifles. So in your DLC, why don't you add in some assault rifles or sniper rifles? I just don't really understand why they didn't do that. The market data was there, people were complaining about it, and they just chose to ignore it. And then really more than anything else, and this may seem like being very materialistic, but I don't understand why they didn't add in more power armor. They created this beautiful and awesome power armor system in Fallout 4. A lot of people love it, me included, and if you look at the most downloaded mods and just some of the most popular mods in general, they are power armors. Yet in all the DLCs, we got one. I don't include the paint jobs because frankly, you could get tons of paint jobs on Nexus and Bethesda.net, but the only power armor we did get was the new one from Nuka World, the Overboss power armor, which definitely is not on par with something like the XO2 or the TES power armor, and yet these guys are doing it for free. Bethesda has a paid team behind that. I just really don't understand where their minds were. Like, they saw people downloading power armor mods and they just chose to not make power armor for their DLC. Like, if Automatron came out with a really cool, badass robot power armor that was kind of like a mix mash of all the different robots put into one, that would be awesome. I would definitely use that. Imagine Far Harbor came with something like a cool submersible power armor, obviously being Far Harbor themed. And to build off that, I feel like they have a massive amount of dead world space that they just chose not to capitalize on. Far Harbor is a very cool DLC, but look at the map of Fallout 4 and just think about how much water there is. Have you ever gone in the water? I have to film certain mod videos, but otherwise I've never entered that vast sea of open space. Frankly, because I've never had a reason to. There's nothing out there except a few fish, and maybe you'll find some secret island once or twice, but there's nothing really worth your time over there. And I feel like Bethesda creating some kind of cool setting out there, maybe underwater people or something like that, would just be so awesome, and more importantly, so much more memorable than the DLCs we got today. That's gonna be pretty much it for this one though, guys. Hopefully it wasn't too ranty. I just really had high hopes for the Fallout 4 DLC and really the game in general, and now that it's finally complete, I'm definitely a little disappointed. Let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are on this subject. As always, I thank you guys for watching, and I do hope you enjoyed. See you all next time. Later.